In this video, I'm going to cover some key points on what buyers really need to know and understand when it comes to buying a house off auction.com. Luckily, I have a current property right now that's going through the auction process on their website. I'm going to use that as an example. I'm going to show you some inside information, give you some good tips, and some pointers from a listing agent on what I see really on a daily basis from consumers and from agents alike. There's a lot of confusion out there, there's a lot of misinformation. I'm just going to give you the Cliff Note version, but I'm going to cover main key points that'll really help you in the buying process. So this is auction.com's main website, and the very first thing I want to show you is going to be the two different type of properties that you're going to be dealing with and you're going to find on this website for sale. And if you go here to the very top, go to the Learn Center, Help Center here, and you scroll down, two different asset types you're going to find on this website are going to be foreclosure home properties, and these properties are generally sold at in-person public auctions. Foreclosures occur when a lender attempts to sell a property to recover the balance of the loan. These are the actual mortgage foreclosure auctions. This is when the bank doesn't own the property, but the homeowner still owns the property. The second kind is going to be REO bank-owned properties, and this is the example I'm going to show you in this video that I have right now. And this is where the bank owns the property, and either they're doing this in the very beginning of the process, it might even still be occupied, they haven't even done the eviction yet and they're trying to auction it off, or they've had the property on the market for a while, it hasn't sold, so they decide to run it through the auction. So if you look down here at the properties, you're going to see a green dot and you're going to see foreclosure sale online September 20th. And this property is in the state of Florida, and that's telling you that this is in a mortgage foreclosure auction when the bank doesn't own the property. And it says online because all the foreclosures in Florida are done online. They're not done in public or in person any longer. And if you look at this one, it says bank owned online September 15th through the 18th. Bank owned online. These are the properties that the bank already owns. They do not have to go through the foreclosure process. This is probably one of the most important things about this website. Just remember, blue is bank-owned online auctions where you can actually buy them through auction.com, and the greens are the mortgage foreclosure auctions. These are the ones that are going to be done from the county's website here in the state of Florida. So next I want to show you the property I have right now and talk about the actual property details page. And this is the property that is going through the auction right now. And actually, as of me making this video, the auction ends in 3 hours. The current bid is $225. The bid increments are $5,000 a pop, and the reserve has not been met. And this is one strange thing about this website and these auctions. This is probably the 6th or 7th time that it's gone through the 3-day auction. Last time it went through, they accepted an offer for $225. But this go around, it's not met yet with bid increments of $5,000. So we'll see what happens. So at the end of this video, I am going to show you the results of yesterday's auction. You can see it's back on for next week, so it did not sell, and the results are probably going to blow you away like they did me. I mean, I'm utterly amazed at what happened and how they set the criteria for yesterday's auction, but I'll show you that really quick at the end of the video. So just so you know, and probably the most important bit of advice I'm going to give you in this entire video is going to be, make sure whatever property that you're looking at and researching and thinking about buying, make sure you go to Google and you Google the address and pull it up. And you want to make sure and pull up the Zillow listing. You're going to see if it's currently active, when the last listing was, but most important, you're going to find more information than you will from auction.com a lot of the times. And a good example, there's 49 current photos on Zillow. These are directly from the MLS, but on auction.com there's only 17. So make sure you Google the property, go to Zillow, go to realtor.com, see what any previous listings on the property were, and chances are you're going to find a lot more information. But you're going to see the typical info, the bedroom, bathroom count, age, square footage, that kind of stuff. Well, like I said, make sure and double check all these stats. I mean, most of these will be correct because they're getting this either from the agent or from the MLS at some point. But just make sure and check it and go to Zillow.com and look and see if you can find more photos. It's very, very important. So this is telling you that it's vacant. It's telling you that you do have interior access. A lot of these properties you're not going to have access because they're either occupied or The bank doesn't own them yet because they're the mortgage foreclosures. So this one does have interior access. Make sure you're looking at these criteria and see what's up with the property you're looking at. Now you're going to see cash only on probably 99.9% of all these properties. Most everything you find on here, including the courthouse mortgage foreclosures, are going to be cash and cash only. That means you're going to have the money in the bank and be able to prove it once you get your offer accepted. This is telling that there is a buyer co-op fee, which means a buyer broker will get paid. In this case, it's 2% or $1,000. Just so you know, you agents out there, they do take a $185.50 fee just for using their software and their platform. Most every client and every corporate seller does this nowadays. But they are paying a 2% broker fee, and this is very important. For you guys out there that aren't using an agent, does not affect your net offer to the seller. Just remember that, because you are wasting the 2%. And if you need help, let me know. Drop me an email, give me a call. I'll be glad to help you if you're in the state of Florida. Doesn't matter where you are, but if you're in the state of Florida and you're looking at bidding on one of these properties, get in touch with me and I'll help you. Here's probably the most important thing I want to point out, and the second or third most important thing in this video is looking for this buyer premium fee. And what this is saying is the winning bidder will have to pay a extra 5% or $2,500, whichever is more. So if it's a $200,000 offer that you put in and you win, you're going to owe another 5% just as a closing fee. That's another $10,000. And that doesn't count your closing costs, which I want to talk about later in the video, which are very important because they're not the same as typical REO properties. And this is just saying that there is a contact agent info. You can always contact the agent and find out more. But this is one of the main things right here you're looking for, is the buyer premium. Okay, I've got two more quick things I want to talk about, and that's the purchase contract and the closing cost. Now, if you go to the very bottom of any property page, you should be able to find a purchase agreement example. Now, you're not going to find a contract that you can use, but they're going to give you an example you can read over and look at, just so you know what you're going to be signing if you get the property. This is a sample purchase agreement, and I wanted to point out a couple of key points just so you kind of are aware. But number one is going to be the earnest money deposit. If blank, 5% of the purchase price is going to be the EMD, and no less than $2,500. Now here's where it talks about the closing agent and the title insurance company, which basically are both the same thing. And this is saying right here that basically if the buyer agrees to use the seller's chosen title company, then the seller will pay for it. But if the buyer chooses their own title company, then the buyer is going to be responsible for paying that. There's no reason to do that, in my opinion. Okay, next, this is where it talks about the title insurance, and basically you're going to get marketable title, or you're not going to be able to close on the property. And that's one of the big advantages of buying a foreclosure after the bank has taken it back through the foreclosure process, is that you're going to get clear title or you're not going to close. If they find any issues, they're going to have to rectify them through the title company and clear them before they can give you clear title. So just remember, there's no reason to go pay extra for title insurance on these properties. This is where it talks about closing costs. Seller and buyer shall pay closing costs as described in the closing cost allocations. There's an addendum, which I'm going to show you here in just a minute, that talks about the closing cost. And it's not the same as buying a typical REO foreclosure. Here's where it talks about the property condition and attributes. This is where you would think you would have an inspection period, but you really don't, because this is saying prior to entering into this agreement, you've had the opportunity to check the property out, do your inspections, and be happy with the property, because it's being sold strictly as is, and you're giving up all your rights to come back and sue the seller. But you got to remember, this is a foreclosure. The seller is not hiding anything. They just don't really know anything. They don't know any of the background or any of that stuff. Okay, this is the last thing I want to mention, and this is not a big deal, but I hear this a lot, especially when it comes to real estate investing. These contracts are not assignable, and this is telling you right here that you cannot assign this contract, any part of it, without the written consent of the seller, which you're normally not going to get. So here's your sample closing cost allocation addendum. This is basically saying what the seller is going to pay and what the buyer is responsible for paying. And the thing I want to bring to everyone's attention is right here, your state and local transfer taxes. This is your deed doc stamp tax here in the state of Florida. This is the most expensive part of closing a real estate transaction. This is what the state of Florida gets on every single real estate transfer, period. And this is saying that the buyer pays this. Now, if you bought this property as an REO when it's listed on the market and not through auction.com, this is something that the seller always pays. The seller will pay this, and they will pay the owner's title insurance if you use their chosen title company. Make sure when you're buying these properties of auction.com, look and see if you can find these documents and read over this, because this is going to be, well, it's 70 cents per 1,000 on $200,000. So that's $1,400 right there. I mean, that's $1,400 is a lot of money, and that's a fee, like I said, that normally they always pay if you buy it as an REO, but they're not paying it now as it's going through the auction. So this is a buyer fee. Just make sure, look for these documents on whatever property that you're looking at. So I'm going to wrap this video up by showing you what happened with yesterday's auction. I took a screenshot just so I could show this in this video because this is absolutely mind-blowing. I'm speechless. I can't even believe I witnessed this live on the auction yesterday. But the property did not sell because the reserve was not met. So it's going back on the auction next week. But look at this. The ending bid, $253,500. Someone out there, and I know it's no one local, it's no one I've ever talked to because no one's going to pay that much. $253,500. Plus you have to add the 5% buyer fee on top of that. So that puts this property well over $265,000, and it's as is condition. That's just way too much for the property. It's not worth that. I'll probably do another video at a later date showing how these bids work more, because I do have a lot of photos taken from my phone of kind of what happened with the auction. And like I said, just remember, don't base your decisions off a previous auction, because they change their rules and what they're going to do and what they're going to accept every time. It makes no sense at all. Before I finish this video, I wanted to show you what happened the following week with the auction, because the property did sell. And you're going to see right here that it says sold. The reserve was met. The reserve met. And if you look down here at the very bottom, ending bid $225,000. That's right. This time they lowered the reserve and the property sold for $225,000. The week before, what we just looked at, $253,000 wouldn't cut it. But the next week, they took a $225,000 offer. So just remember, if you're bidding on these properties on auction.com, you can't base their decisions on the previous auction, because they change their minds, their reserves, what they're going to take, all that stuff. They change it all the time. So just remember that. Okay, that'll do it for this video. I appreciate it. Make sure and hit the subscribe button if you don't mind. As always, if you have any questions or comments, leave them below, and I'll be glad to answer. I'll help any way possible. As always, thanks and have a great day.